say that, darling. That's fake news.
Well, why would
I
you
don't
the
go to
Department
war.
of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Yes, that's Yamich Alcindor, a radical left-wing extremist, anti-American racist reporter with NBC Fake News. Why are you going to war with Chicago? I think Chicago's at war with Chicago. If you look at the body count, it exceeds the body count in the Iraq War. It exceeds the body count in the Afghanistan War. And these fake reporters who are radicals and not journalists at all, not looking for the truth, not looking for facts, but a moment on the south lawn of the White House over the weekend, President Trump, you heard the Marine One helicopter behind him with the engines revving up. President Trump at the U.S. Open in New York yesterday, the big tennis tournament. I only caught the 5th set yesterday. I was busy, but I did catch the 5th set, and it was quite amazing tennis it was. Democrats weren't so concerned with that. They were marching for crime in Chicago, marching for violence, anti-police, anti-law enforcement. They're pro-illegal alien gang member. They're not on the side of the good guys. Wah, wah, wah. And, by the way, another illegal alien in Maryland charged with murdering another woman in Maryland. This is just about a month ago. The murderer who was an illegal alien, the murderer of Rachel Morin, the mother of 5, who went out for a walk for exercise, was raped and murdered by an illegal alien. And the Democrats applaud that. They somehow fault the woman. Pound Me Too takes on an all-new meaning. But we've got a new one. Maryland man charged in killing of missing 19-year-old, what's her name? Dakara Thompson, African-American woman, of course, brutally murdered by the illegal alien. A Maryland man has been arrested and charged in the killing of 19-year-old woman who was reported missing last month, Prince George's County Police announced on Friday. Hugo Hernandez Mendez, so many 3-name names, aren't there? 35 years old of Bowie, is charged with first and second-degree murder and with the death of Dakara Thompson of Lanham, Maryland. Isn't that amazing? On August 31st, Maryland State Police discovered a body in a neighborhood in Anne Arundel County. It should be a civilized place, but the Democrats, they don't like civilization. They're against civilization. The remains were later identified as Thompson, prompting a joint investigation with county detectives. And the police, who the Democrats want to defund, found the murderer, and they've arrested and charged the murderer. And he's an illegal alien, and he looks like an illegal alien. I got to say, from satellite photos, you might say that guy looks like an illegal alien because, and the Democrats say he looks like a voter, and maybe their daughters would like to date him. Investigators and surveillance footage showed Thompson approaching a black SUV in the early morning hours of August 23rd. And speaking to the driver, right, and then she entered the vehicle. What's going on with that? Probably doesn't sound good. Police said the SUV went to a home in Bowie, and the evidence indicate that she was killed in a bedroom there. Doesn't sound good. It all sounds very sordid. But another illegal alien, another murder, another young woman dead, murdered, and it doesn't say anything about the sexual assault, but that's normally part of the illegal alien pattern, isn't it? Yes, it is. And the Democrats, where are they on this? They yell at you and call you names because you think that maybe murder laws should be enforced and maybe immigration law should be enforced. I don't know. The Democrats, they're against all that stuff. They're not on Team America. Not even close. Not Team America people. But we've got President Trump was busy over the weekend. And what did the Democrats, because last weekend, remember, the Democrats started a rumor, a false rumor that President Trump was dead because he hadn't held a press conference in 4 hours or something like that. He was golfing at his own golf course. I believe he golfed this weekend, too, over the weekend at Trump National in Sterling, Virginia. And then he flew up to to New York for the U.S. Open because he likes tennis, and he's been going to the U.S. Open for a lot of years. But we've got a lot for you because there was a weekend, and the Democrats, rust never sleeps, and the Democrats don't either. They love crime and illegal aliens and everything bad the Democrats think is good because they're not liberals, they're the left. Let's keep that in mind at all times. Yes, sir. All right, so we got that, and I've also got, here's a headline from the Fox News Channel. Trump clashes with NBC reporter over Chicago war question. And then that's Yamich. That's Yamich. And she's making headlines. It's her mother must be so proud if she has a mother. Oh, speaking of mothers, there's a crazy story out of Boston, Massachusetts, where a Democrat member of the Boston City Council, who is an illegal alien, or at least was an illegal alien until recently, and she's a Muslim woman who dresses in the traditional Muslim garb and wears the hijab and the hijab and all that stuff. And she's not a good woman. She was convicted of taking thousands in bribes in the bathroom at City Hall. And it turns out this one's a real piece of work, but she's I think a typical Democrat. Illegal alien or not illegal alien anymore, depends on which article you read. And unfortunately, you have like PBS writing about it. You can't believe a damn thing they say. And Democrats in Boston writing about it. Can't believe a damn thing they say. But this illegal alien or former illegal alien Muslim woman who, I've got to say, today I saw her coming out of the courthouse and being greeted by a bunch of big women, big women, like with combat boots and the sides of their head shaved and, different colors in their hair and stuff. And I saw that in a bunch of them, and they're big uns. And I said, oh, she must, in addition to being an illegal alien, Muslim, anti-American, radical immigrant from Cape Verde, she might also be on the LGBTQ spectrum. So I went to look her up to see if she's on the LGBTQ spectrum. And it turns out she's married to a man. I said, oh, that's interesting and a little bit surprising she's married to a man. And then I looked just a little bit further, and the man she's married to was convicted of murder, and he's in prison for murder because she's a Democrat, and they're all Democrats. And can we just set up a state where no Democrats are allowed? There'll be no murder, no crime. It'd be great, wouldn't it? No illegal aliens, no looting, no arson, no firebombing the Jews. It'd be like America was 20 minutes ago, before the Democrats sunk their fangs into our neck and started sucking the lifeblood out of our culture and our society. But we've got that. So yeah, Trump clashes with NBC News fake reporter over Chicago war question. Now, I mean, again, he had how many murders do you have to have in a year before the news media raises an eyebrow and says, hey, this should be frowned upon? I was thinking, maybe on the Newsmax show or something, I should get like 600 body bags and drag them into the studio to say, this is how many Democrats murdered Democrats in just the last 9 months in Chicago, Illinois. Aren't they amazing? Yes, they are. President Trump got them going over the weekend by tweeting, and this was pretty hilarious, I got to say. It is like the Robert Duvall picture from Apocalypse Now, where he's in the battle zone and he's crouched down. I love the smell of napalm in the morning, smells like victory, and he tells the story. And it's President Trump wearing the Army cavalry hat and the aviator glasses, crouched down with the Vietnam War era green uniform and the yellow, airborne handkerchief around his neck, with Hueys flying in and fire going on behind him. And President Trump tweeted out this picture of Chipocalypse Now, and he wrote, I love the smell of deportations in the morning. All right? I love the smell of deportations in the morning. And the Democrats, they don't even know what it means, but they know they're angry about it and they want to self-immolate. So we got that. And President Trump said, Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. And I thought, oh, geez, there he goes. That's not what, if I were president, I probably wouldn't have said that. I love the Apocalypse Now thing. And I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Pretty funny stuff. That got them all going. Just amazing stuff. And another headline from the left-wing extremists at Mediaite, in quotation marks, "Be quiet. Listen." Trump berates reporter who asks him if he's trying to go to war with Chicago. A pretty stupid thing to say. You guys should stop shooting people. How about that? Democrats, let's just have like death takes a holiday for one weekend in America. See if we can convince the Democrats to not shoot anybody for a whole weekend, because it's worse than most war zones in the United States of America, thanks to Democrats. Isn't that amazing? Also, have you seen, now there's a story out of Memphis too, where the Democrats are saying, oh yeah, the crime is worse in Memphis than it is in Chicago. And it depends on how you measure, if it's a per capita homicide rate. So I looked it up, and of course you have the Democrat mayor in Memphis, and they have apparently nonpartisan city council, but they're all Democrats, and the political map is all Democrats in Memphis. Democrats should stop killing people. I'm just thinking. And St. Louis, and the same thing in St. Louis. You put Democrats in charge of something, and the body count immediately escalates like nobody's business. And the media very, very angry that crime is down in Washington, D.C., homicides down, because the Democrats want crime to be up and homicides to be up. They prove it with everything they say and every action they take as political leaders. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. Illinois National Guard deployed to assist. I love this one because they're outraged about the National Guard in Washington, D.C. Of course, they called out the National Guard in California and Los Angeles recently, and last year the Democrats did. And then last year the Democrats called up the National Guard in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention because they know a lot of Democrats would be there, and they tend toward mob violence and criminality and firebombing. And they called up the National Guard on themselves. And, of course, Joe Biden called up 25,000 National Guard for his own inauguration, and thousands stayed for months and months. But never mind that. And more Democrats, more Boston. Boston area police failed to act on reports years before arresting a serial rapist. And also just amazing stuff going on out of Boston with this Tanya Fernandez Anderson. You probably don't know her, but she's the one who's married to the murderer in prison, who was an illegal alien, who's a Muslim and presumably an Islamist, and greeted by a bunch of big toughies when she came out of the courthouse. Amazing stuff, but I've got news for you on her. And did you see the nice, beautiful young woman that escaped the war in Ukraine and came to the United States to get away from the war in Ukraine? And she was working at a pizza place. We're in Charlotte, and she was taking a local train, the public transit home, when a gentleman who is described as a Democrat stood up and stabbed her in the neck and murdered her on the train. And the Democrats shrug and say, well, and it turns out the guy has long criminal history and mental illness history. And the Democrats say, no, those are the people we want on the street. Isn't that amazing? Also, 2 Democrats were arrested over the weekend in Washington, D.C. for the murder of the young Republican House of Representatives intern who was visiting Washington, D.C. to be an intern. He had an internship. And Democrats, 2 or 3 Democrats showed up and opened fire and gunned him down and killed him. And the Democrats think, oh, this is about the right level of crime. This is just where we want to be. Isn't that amazing? And Democrats protesting in Washington, D.C. in favor of more crime. And Robert Reich III, you know Robert Reich III? He's a lifelong Democrat administration official from Clinton forward and all that. And he's a little behind the news, but he tweeted over the weekend, because I told you this on Friday. Thanks to Trump's funding cuts, PBS, the Panhandler Broadcasting System, will lay off 15% of its staff. Trump wants to exert control over the news and information that the public receives or doesn't even receive at all. It's a hallmark of dictatorship, he says. Well, that's interesting because you guys have controlled PBS and NPR for the last 50 years. I guess it is the hallmark of a dictatorship, and you are the dictator, or at least one part of that word. Hard to say. We've got tons of news for you here. Liberals ruin baseball. Oh, did you see this lady steal the baseball from the kid at this was great at the Phillies game. Boy, that turned into something. And we are at 888-630-9625. All right, so many things. Illegal aliens killing women. They love that, I think. Democrats love it too because they love illegal aliens and all that. So we've got that. And the media not covering the murder of the Ukrainian refugee woman by some Democrat on a local train because they want more of that. Oh, and we got a big election I've got to talk to you about today, too, in Virginia. It's huge. It's gigantic. Right now, let's go to the telephones, though, Michael. Let's go to Steve, calling from Sarasota, Florida. Steven, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Uh-oh. Now we'll push a button. Hey, there you are.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Steve.
Good morning.
Welcome.
You asked a rhetorical question this morning. Can't we just get back to normal? Can we do this? You got this T-shirt, the whole 9 yards, and the effort is underway. We got Alligator Alcatraz. We got a great Governor DeSantis down here. We are trying to try to get rid of these Democrats. I mean, they walk around here and stuff like that, but they're kind of ostracized because we got them covered. I'll tell you what, this is Republican all over the place, and it's becoming more Republican. I think we increased the Republican voter rolls down here by like 1.5 million. The freedom effort is underway, and it's starting right here in Florida.
Wow, 1 million or 1.5 million? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
No. Yeah. I mean, since I think it's since 2020, since COVID, everybody sort of said, hey, what places have enacting sane legislation, like doing government right. And I tell you what, my wife and I can't be more pleased with all the things that are going on. We're getting rid of the airplanes buzzing stuff over the skies all over the place here. Got all kinds of sane laws, got great legislatures. The government actually listens to the people down here, and it's actually refreshing and exciting, really, to see what's going on.
Wow. Now, did you and your wife move there from someplace else, less reliable?
Yeah, from Chicago, Chris.
From Chicago. Right.
Yeah, we go up there. We have family up there. Go up and get some beef once in a while. A little pizza, taste it, and then we visit. Sometimes we visit the snow now. Yeah, it's great.
Visit the snow. That is great. Yeah, Chicago definitely gets snow. It gets a little cold there in the wintertime. It's true. Great call, Stephen. Thank you very much. Good stuff. People that call themselves liberals love crime. They love illegal aliens. And illegal immigration is illegal. And if not every day, then every week we get another illegal alien murdering another woman. And this woman murdered just outside of Washington, D.C. by yet another illegal alien is another example of the work that the Democrats have done, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, all the Democrats, Bernie the Bolshevik Sanders, this is the hard work that they've done, gets Americans killed, and then they shrug and they don't care. And of course, then they have their other career criminal, mentally ill lunatics who, like the guy that just stabbed to death a 23-year-old Ukrainian woman, a beautiful young woman who escaped the war in Ukraine, came to the United States, got a job with her I think her mother and her siblings, and got out of Ukraine, came to Charlotte, got a job at a pizza place, taking public transportation home, and a Democrat stood up and stabbed her to death with a pocket knife that he pulled out, an unfolded pocket knife from his pocket, unfolded, and stood up and just murdered this lovely young woman with headphones on the local train going home from work. And the Democrats shrug, and the entirety of the news media fails to cover the story. They just don't cover it. It's not like she's George Floyd and her life mattered or anything like that. Ukrainian lives matter. White lives matter. The Democrats, they pretend to care about Ukraine. They pretend to care about immigrants. They pretend to care about refugees. And then a Ukrainian refugee who comes here as an immigrant is murdered by some Democrat with a long history of crimes and mental illness. And the entirety of the news media shrugs and says, well, that's not a story. The American people don't need to hear anything about that. It's not good for the Democratic Party because the murderer is a Democrat. The fact that he was loose on the street is because of Democrats. The Ukrainian refugee woman, never mind any of that. That's your Democrat Party. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Speaking of illegal alien, wife-beating, gang member criminals, there is a funny, Bill Melugin is a reporter at Fox News, and he tweeted over the weekend, Fox News has obtained an email ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, sent to Kilmore Abrego Garcia. The Democrats call him a Maryland man, illegal alien from El Salvador. From Kilmore Abrego Garcia's lawyers, he has multiple lawyers. Michael, how many lawyers do you have? Huh? Hey, Jasmine, how many lawyers? No, Jasmine doesn't have any lawyers. Michael doesn't have any lawyers. But Kilmore Abrego, he has multiple lawyers. So I sent a memo, an email to Kilmore Abrego Garcia's lawyers, notifying them that ICE now plans to deport him to the tiny African country of Eswatini. Eswatini is a little place, the size of maybe 4 football stadiums with parking lots included. It's in South Africa. I've been around Eswatini, but I don't believe I went into Eswatini when I was in South Africa. But the tiny African country of Eswatini, due to him claiming fear of persecution, fear of torture, if he were to be deported to Uganda or 20 other countries, right? 20 other countries plus Uganda, that's 21 countries, which ICE says is hard to take seriously. And ICE says it's hard to take seriously that you're afraid of being tortured in El Salvador and Uganda and Mexico and the list goes on and on. Costa Rica and Guatemala and Honduras and Nicaragua and Panama. My best girl and I, we went on vacation to Panama not too long ago. I haven't been to Costa Rica since I was a teenager working on a freight ship, but that's another discussion. Argentina, Bolivia, he's afraid he's going to be tortured in all these countries. Chile. Doesn't AOC makes a nice chile, doesn't she? A nice, is that a with beans or without beans? The chile. Isn't she amazing? Colombia and Ecuador. We were on vacation in Ecuador a couple years ago, too. Paraguay, we've been on vacation in Paraguay as well. Peru, Uruguay. Isn't that amazing? Just amazing stuff. Yeah, we've been to Uruguay, my best girl and I. Venezuela. Cuba, he's afraid he'd be tortured there. The Dominican Republic, he might be tortured there. And Haiti, where Barbecue the Cannibal might get to him. So they said, okay, we'll deport you to Eswatini. I got to say, friends of mine and I were texting over the weekend about making a cocktail called the Eswatini, because anything in Eswatini, it's like, you got like the banana martini and the what do they call it, that coffee? Espresso martini. So when you got an Eswatini, all I could think of was making a specialized cocktail called the Eswatini, or the Abrego Garcia Eswatini, or Kilmore. I think I was texting over the weekend. It should be the Kilmore Eswatini. It'd be a vodka-based drink. It'd have to have some chocolatey stuff because it's in South Africa. And the Eswatini, the Kilmore Eswatini. I think that's a good idea. Also, you see, the communists are in charge of the Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders announced that he won't allow, he's got a gun and he's going to use it. He said he won't allow Elon Musk to become a trillionaire. All right. How are you going to do that, communist pig dog with a gang of rifles and communists? They steal everything. They destroy everything. He's a communist. He's not a Democrat. The difference between socialism and communism is 5 years. That's the old line about that. And what did Vladimir Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, what did he say about socialism? He said the goal of socialism is communism. And that's where the Democrat Party is today. Aren't they amazing? But they're kind of funny when it comes to that, too. You see the radical extremist, shaved head, fascist, anti-American, racist Democrat Congresswoman and squad member Ayanna Pressley. It turns out that she's got property scams and rental properties, and she's apparently worth about $8 million now, which is kind of fun. Ayanna Pressley, she's got about $8 million, and that comes a week after Ilhan Omar, radical jihadi, Jew-hating, genocidal Democrat, mainstream Democrat. Ilhan Omar, her net worth, according to her own financial disclosure forms, now as much as $30 million, and she still hates America. Were it not for the United States of America, there would be black scorpions crawling over the sun-bleached bones of Ilhan Omar in the windswept sands of Beep Hole, Africa, where really we should have left her. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. So we've got that going. Yeah, Bernie Sanders won't allow Elon Musk to become a trillionaire. Now, I don't think he's close to becoming a trillionaire, but if he had, $400 billion, I guess he could turn it into $800 billion, and then maybe he could turn it into a trillionaire. But Bernie the Bolshevik, he won't allow that. And that's the word that he used, allow. He won't allow. Because he views, political power as, they agree with Chairman Mao that political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And then Mao murdered 50 million Chinese people. And the Democrats, I think they didn't say a word about that, did they?
We know this is largely about power. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun.
Ron Bloom of the Obama White House, they agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun. Bernie the Bolshevik says he won't allow rich people to get rich that he doesn't grant because he's a communist. Isn't that amazing? Censorship concerns raised after Chinese state media pulls video of Xi Jinping and Vlad the Impaler Putin when they had the organ transplant discussion. I played it for you here. And Chinese media, they've taken it down, censorship, because they've removed it. You can't find it on the internet. They're talking about because the Chinese people know that they kill prisoners and Uyghurs and they steal their organs for party officials.
In the past, people rarely lived longer than 70 years. But today, they say that at 70, you are still a child.
Human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become, and can even achieve immortality.
You can even achieve immortality, and the longer you live, the younger you become, because you're stealing organs from younger people, having them installed in your body, because you're a filthy communist. And the Democrat Party there, where are they? I'm holding my left index finger a half an inch over my left thumb. They're this close. All right, let's go back to the telephones again, Michael. And I've got a lot of audio that I look forward to sharing with you on a number of these topics. And I definitely want to talk to you about this special election happening in Virginia. The last day to vote is tomorrow, but you can vote today because there's early voting. And the 11th Congressional District used to belong to Jerry Connolly, the bartender from Virginia, Democrat House member who was there forever. And he died of cancer, and that's sad. But now we have a real opportunity there in Virginia to do the right thing and vote for the right person in this congressional race. And the Republican is Stuart Whitson. And I've got to tell you, I spent some time with Stuart Whitson a few weeks ago. I want to get back to this. But great American, former Army officer, FBI special agent fighting the terrorists. And the Democrat that he's running against wants more transgender children in schools. I think that's his primary thrust, his primary push. But I want to get back to that. Before we do, and honestly, if you're in the 11th and the old Jerry Connolly district, there is very important, and it has to do with control of the House of Representatives and swinging a House seat from Democrat to Republican and saving Virginia from the mental illness that is the Democrat Party. So we've got that going on, and again tomorrow the 9th is the last day. Early voting has been underway for quite some time, but Stuart Whitson is the Republican, and he's the good guy of the story. The Democrats all about gender mutilation of children, genital mutilation of children, and pushing the Democrat crazy agenda. More crime, more mayhem, more illegals, more gang members, more murders. So you can vote Democrat if you've got a death wish, but most of us do not have a death wish. Let's go to the telephones again. Let's go to Peter, calling from Tampa, Florida. Pedro, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Thank you for taking my call, sir.
You betcha.
Hey, down here, I don't know if it's a southern thing, but a lot of folks are very, 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 very obsessed with football, college football. And it just brings to mind, like, the distraction of the bread and circuses of ancient Rome. And it allows corrupt politicians to use it as a distraction. And, you know, nobody in North Carolina knows about the killing of the Ukrainian girl, but everybody knows all about the football scores.
Well,
I mean, football's good, but it's just a distraction that corrupt politicians love their constituents to watch.
Well, it is a good escape to get away from all the madness from time to time. But I know what you're saying, certainly. And yesterday the Redskins were victorious over the New York Giants, and it was quite a game, big game that happened here in the Washington Metroplex. But yeah, there are a lot of distractions, and the internet is in everybody's hand all day long, and all that good stuff, Peter. But I've got to say, a big part of it, and I want to share this story because it's an important story. It tells you everything you need to know about the news media, that this horrible, gruesome murder with video took place, which you think would make it a made-for-TV story. But nobody's covering this story about this beautiful, young, 23-year-old blonde Ukrainian woman, a refugee that came from the war zone in Ukraine to the United States with her mother and siblings, and she was doing nothing but working hard at a pizza place and was completely randomly murdered by this guy who she had never met, and he's got a long history of committing crimes and of mental illness, but he's loose on the streets. Now, why is he loose on the streets to murder, Peter?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know it. This is because of the corrupt politicians who enjoy to hide behind the distraction of all these different things. And so people have some responsibility, obviously, to not spend so much time obsessing over something so empty as football. It's just, I mean, I like football. I was raised on it, all that stuff. But you have to recognize that it's bread and circuses, same thing.
Well, yeah, listen, I don't necessarily disagree with your bread and circus point at all. But I think I watched football over the weekend, and I followed the story of Irina Zarutska. Irina Zarutska stabbed to death on a Charlotte train, and a random attack, and the criminal, mentally ill criminal, a Democrat who murdered the woman. What did the news media do to cover it? You know, I mean, Peter, I've got to say, we can still watch football and take in the news, but if the news media universally doesn't cover it, from CNN to the New York Times, the Washington Post, to USA Today, nobody covers it. Not like her life, not as if her life mattered the way that George Floyd's life mattered, right? The Democrats burned the country to the ground from coast to coast over the criminal George Floyd with fentanyl and methamphetamine in his system while he's resisting arrest yet again after committing yet another felony. And the Democrats cared very deeply about George Floyd, but when it comes to Irina Zarutska, they don't seem to care about her at all. Why is that, I wonder? We're at 888-630-9625. Thank you, Peter.
I'm making vegetarian chile.
By the way, a whole bunch of Democrats started raising money on GoFundMe for the career criminal with at least 14 arrests that murdered the Ukrainian refugee with a knife out of the blue. And Democrats immediately started raising money for him and saying it would be racist to not raise money for him. He's black. The woman that he butchered savagely was white, Ukrainian woman. And the Democrat Party is raising money for the butcher, for the murderer, for the career criminal, because the Democrat Party is mentally ill, and all of its members have gender dysphoria. All right, let's go back to the telephones. I want to get back to that, and I've got a whole lot of news for you today. So you don't want to go anywhere. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Dennis calling from Dickerson, Maryland. Dennis, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, first-time caller. But
Welcome.
I just always wanted to have a reporter ask that Pritzker, if you don't want National Guard in Chicago, why did you want them at your convention? It's always to protect the rich and the mighty, but never their constituents.
Right. Well, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Dennis, but were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. And they use
I understand that because I tell them all the time, they're the KKK. They cut little black children from going to school down in Little Rock, but it took a Republican named Eisenhower to send the 101st down.
Yep.
It just goes on and on and on. I mean, I've only got a high school education. I'm 76 years old. I'm an old paratrooper. I was not smart enough to fly them, but I was dumb enough to jump out of them. But I do read a lot of history, and that's what these people are lacking.
Well, among other things, that's a fact. Dennis, your great high school education, paratrooper, jumping out of airplanes, and BS from one is not BS, and I'm saluting you.